A powerful typhoon and a relentless new wave of devastating floods have once again plunged vast regions of China into chaos, leaving communities battered and exhausted. Just as residents were beginning to claw their way back from the destruction of the previous deluge, scraping thick layers of mud from their homes, salvaging waterlogged furniture, and mourning irreplaceable personal treasures, another merciless storm descended without warning. The skies unleashed their fury, forcing tens of thousands to abandon their homes and flee for their lives once more, their hopes of recovery shattered by nature's unrelenting assault. Across multiple provinces, from the ancient storied landscapes of Shaanxi to the bustling coastal plains of Jiangsu, torrential rains, gale-force winds, and flash floods struck with the force of a sledgehammer. The storms arrived with little prelude, transforming clear skies into ominous, churning masses of black clouds in mere moments. Thunder roared with bone-rattling intensity, shaking the foundations of homes and sending tremors of fear through communities. Lightning tore across the heavens in jagged, blinding arcs, illuminating the chaos below in stark, terrifying flashes. Streets that had been bustling with life hours earlier became raging rivers, swallowing everything in their path within minutes. In Xi'an, a city steeped in history and home to millions, the storm's ferocity was nothing short of apocalyptic. Winds howled through densely packed neighborhoods, ripping tiles from rooftops, tearing down power lines, and sending debris spiraling through the air. Trees, some centuries old, groaned and snapped under the strain, their roots unable to hold against the onslaught. In one residential district, a massive billboard was torn from its moorings, crashing onto the street below with a deafening clang that echoed through the night. Residents, caught off guard, scrambled to secure their homes, rushing to slam shutters, bolt doors, and tie down anything that could be swept away by the relentless gusts.
我的嗨，日妈走赢了，看了呀，来早一点点，日妈一来又赶住了。我的嗨，赶到那了。
我的妈呀！我的衣服湿完了。
In Luanzhen town, the storm's wrath was even more visceral. Rooftops rattled as if under siege, and the wind's eerie howl seemed to carry a warning of worse to come. Windows shook violently in their frames, some shattering under the pressure, sending shards of glass skittering across floors. Families huddled together, clutching their children and whispering prayers as the storm hammered their homes with unrelenting force. Outside, the streets became a chaotic blur of flying debris. Chairs, umbrellas, market stalls, and even heavy metal signs were lifted by the wind and hurled through the air like toys. Hai'an, a coastal town already weary from earlier storms, the scene was one of surreal destruction. Outdoor furniture was tossed like confetti, with patio tables tumbling down streets and shop awnings flapping wildly before being ripped away entirely. Electric bike riders, caught in the open, struggled to stay upright against the wind's punishing force. Many abandoned their bikes, seeking refuge under shop overhangs or in the doorways of buildings, their faces etched with fear and frustration as they watched the storm rage on. Vendors, their livelihoods already battered by weeks of unpredictable weather, fought desperately to secure their wares, tying down signs and stacking sandbags in a futile attempt to protect their shops from the rising waters.
面积不同的不断的往这个小城市完全不能入的所有的难民们全部停滞在卢南和南海的交叉路口这个位置上，所以当然会有一些
多。
The winds, reaching speeds equivalent to a tropical storm, showed no mercy. In some areas, gusts topped 100 kilometers per hour, bending trees nearly to the ground and sending waves of debris crashing into homes and vehicles. The air was thick with the scent of rain and torn vegetation, mingling with the acrid tang of ozone from the lightning strikes that lit up the sky in rapid succession. For those caught outside, the world became a disorienting blur of wind, water, and noise, a sensory overload that left even the bravest souls shaken. In Nanjing, a major urban hub, the nightmare unfolded with equal intensity. The city's gleaming skyscrapers and historic districts alike were battered by the storm's fury. Skies darkened to an unnatural apocalyptic gray, casting an eerie pall over the metropolis. Violent gusts tore down street banners, posters, and even traffic lights, sending them skittering across rain-slicked roads. Rain fell in sheets, driven sideways by the wind, hammering against windows and flooding metro stations. Pedestrians, drenched and disoriented, ran for cover, crowding into shop doorways, metro entrances, and covered walkways. Those who couldn't find shelter were left to battle the elements, their umbrellas turning inside out or snapping under the wind's relentless force. Meanwhile, in Rongjiang County, Guizhou Province, a new and catastrophic flood emergency unfolded, shattering records and breaking spirits. Relentless rainfall, combined with massive upstream dam discharges, triggered what local officials have now declared the worst flood in half a century. Just days after the last floodwaters had receded, leaving behind a trail of mud-caked homes and waterlogged lives, residents were once again thrust into chaos. The warning came too late for many. Rivers swelled with terrifying speed, breaching their banks and surging beyond safety limits by more than 3 meters in some areas. Entire towns were engulfed, with water rushing through streets, homes, and businesses with unstoppable force.
这个桥底不底哦？
chấm đâu bầu lấy cùng chung gian cùng yên rồi tiêu nhá này mày đây mày ba màu chấm sắp đây cùng yên chung chót tôi cứ tôi cháu là ba bốn cây đó chấm được
这搞得不交，搞得五三的，一洒水一下都了。我们屋里头来着，是我养在这，3我不能放来的，好子洗了碗里水了。
The situation was compounded by the region's geography and infrastructure challenges. Dams upstream, including those in Lishan County and Huaihua City, were forced to release massive volumes of water to prevent catastrophic failures, sending torrents rushing downstream toward already inundated communities. In Rongjiang, the floodwaters were so severe that they submerged third-floor apartments in low-lying areas, an almost unimaginable sight for residents who had never seen such destruction. Landslides triggered by the relentless rain wiped out entire swaths of farmland, burying crops and homes under tons of mud and debris. Bridges, some of which had stood for decades, were swept away like matchsticks, leaving towns cut off from the outside world. Across the affected regions, the human toll was staggering. Local officials confirmed multiple fatalities, though the full extent of the losses was still unclear as rescue operations continued. Dozens of towns remained isolated, with roads submerged, bridges collapsed, and communication lines severed. Power outages plunged entire districts into darkness, and mobile networks failed in many areas, leaving families unable to contact loved ones or call for help. Emergency shelters, hastily set up in schools, community centers, and government buildings, were quickly overwhelmed as thousands of displaced residents poured in, carrying what little they could salvage from their homes.
来，我给你们看我们现在这里的海子。我操！好个逼！你我到来么？是叫你搞的么跑么？是叫你搞的么跑么跑？我你的姥姥都要么跟么跑？哎，没有，快快要带上，就个都带上了，走，你就上，等你上，走，看。
The Chinese military, alongside emergency rescue teams and countless volunteers, worked tirelessly to respond to the crisis. Boats navigated treacherous floodwaters to rescue stranded villagers, many of whom were trapped on rooftops or in upper floors of their homes. Helicopters airlifted supplies, food, clean water, blankets, to cut off communities. In one striking image, a young soldier was seen carrying an elderly woman through chest-deep water, her face a mixture of gratitude and exhaustion as she clung to his shoulders. Volunteers, many of whom were flood victims themselves, waded through mud to distribute supplies and help clear debris, their acts of solidarity a beacon of hope amid the despair.
那个老天不给人吃饭，好不容易辛辛苦苦栽进去的庄稼就全部淹完。
张家口的大雨下了15分钟左右，20分钟。你看看，
但係通過嗰個8000萬工程之後，依家飲得啦！我依家行得去嗰邊洗喎，又行去熱天嗰陣就行去沖涼。
बहुत बुरी तरह से पानी बढ़ा हुआ है।
Experts warn that this disaster is not solely the work of nature. A combination of factors: poorly managed dam discharges, rapid urban development that has paved over natural floodplains, and the increasing intensity of storms driven by climate change has amplified the destruction. While China has invested heavily in flood defenses, including levees, reservoirs, and early warning systems, these measures are being pushed to their limits by the sheer scale and frequency of extreme weather events.